Hello, welcome to the interview here on France 24. Well, since its founding at the end of World War II, the Arab League has gotten high grades for its efforts to promote closer cultural and social and economic ties across the Arab world. It's often had, some would say, a harder time finding a common voice on political issues. The Arab League today is a 22-member body, very vast body, whose members range from traditional monarchies such as Saudi Arabia, Jordan, even Morocco, to new republics, in some cases very new republics, Libya, Iraq, and even Syria. Now, the League has publicly backed the Arab Spring uprisings, and it's also been very supportive of the official bid we're seeing this week for the Palestinians to seek statehood recognition at the UN. But if you scratch the surface, some say that it's not quite a unified voice. There have still been divisions. And one of the questions I want to ask my guest today, welcome to the show, Nassif, HITTI. You are the Arab League ambassador here in France, and you're also the author of several works on Arab affairs, Arab world. I want to speak to this question of divisions and how deep they run, but I want to start with the issue we're all talking about this week, Palestinian statehood recognition. Officially, your Arab League, the Arab League, is supporting this bid. They are backing it. Unofficially, though, some people say, what has the Arab League concretely done? How have they actually shown this support beyond just declarations?
Yeah, let me just start by saying there is an official formulated position within the Arab Peace Initiative Committee, which deals with this issue in terms of elaboration of the issue, and then it takes it to the Council of the Arab League to adopt a position ongoing to the United Nations, primarily to seek full membership for the Palestinian state, and leaving the door open as things are still being discussed here and there, perhaps to go to the General Assembly. We have been approached by many countries, friendly countries, to seek going to the General Assembly instead of going into what they call, it might be a confrontation with the US, which will have very negative effects on everybody. We were open. I say we might be still open if you could get something on the basic and key issue, which is the going back to negotiations, to serious negotiations for a comprehensive peace within a time frame, well-defined time frame, and addressing all issues.
That sounds like the European divide there. They want the negotiations, but they're not saying whether they might vote for the Palestinian state.
Yeah, but we need a commitment to negotiations. We don't need commitment just to talks. You know, we've been in what we call a frozen conflict for years now, even the last years. We've been in what I call the logic of conflict management rather than the logic of conflict settlement. We need really to go into clear, well-defined agenda of negotiations, global approach, comprehensive approach, attacking all issues, addressing all issues.
I understand that, but you are supporting the statehood bid.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Let me ask you, what's interesting...
We're supporting it because there was no negotiations, not to go against negotiations, but in order to reinvigorate the negotiation process. We are going for that, not instead of, but just as a way of pushing for negotiations.
For pushing for the negotiations.
Absolutely, that's the key point I'm trying to make, sir.
What a lot of our viewers might not realize is that the Arab League, Palestine, as such, is actually a member of the Arab League.
Absolutely.
The Palestinian, you're a full member. Absolutely. Actually, they enjoy the status on the Arab League that they don't yet have at the United Nations.
Absolutely.
So Mahmoud Abbas sits in on all the Arab League meetings?
Absolutely.
He's there. And
the Palestinian National Authority, and before it, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, would sit in the seat of Palestine as a state. It has full membership rights like any state within the Arab League system. It has been the case for years.
What does he concretely ask the Arab League to do to help promote this bid? I'm sure that he had some requests last time the Arab League met.
Well, starting with political and diplomatic support, of course, and going to all capitals. Different member states have different special privileged relations with different countries in the world, to try to explain to everybody that our bid, that the real bid, is again and again, I'm sorry to repeat myself, to reinvigorate the peace process, because we're frustrated of the absence of a process.
It's been a deep freeze.
As such, of a peace process. We ended up with a process without peace. We want a bid, we want a commitment from the international community that we want to have a state, but that we have to negotiate. We have to have a comprehensive negotiation, meaning addressing all issues. Not one party decide on issues within a time frame, well-defined time frame, which we decide not to have an open-ended negotiations. Second and third point, to have a third party, being the quartet or the UN or whoever is, accompany, and let me say something, acts as a referee to these negotiations. So it's out of frustration, out of absence of peace, out of Israeli policy that are changing the demographics and also the geographics of the occupied territory via colonization and others, that we need to move on. Time is not on the side of peace. Time is against peace.
U.S. President Barack Obama has told the United Nations General Assembly that he understands the Palestinians' frustrations, but he also says America has what he said is an unshakable commitment to Israel's security, which is why he would veto anything brought before the Security Council. What is the Arab League's reaction if that happens?
We are not going against the right of Israel to exist within the 67 borders. What we are saying is that to have two states living side by side in peace. Let me just remind you of the Arab Platform position, which is the Arab Peace Initiative adopted by unanimity at the summit of Beirut in March 2002, whereas we have a comprehensive approach to peace, whereas even we talk about normalization at the end of the day, turning the page and opening a new page in the Middle East. This is how you would get security for everybody, including the state of Israel within the 67 borders. What the Israelis are doing, or have been doing recently, are to continue on the colonization process, are to continue on the Judaization of
settlement building.
The settlement building, settlement expansion and extension of settlement, and also on putting new conditions that we will not talk about refugees, we will not talk about Jerusalem, we would like to have a military, open-ended military presence, practically speaking, in the Jordan Valley. These are not ways to start negotiations. Negotiations start within a well-established framework based on Security Council resolutions, based on former agreements, based on the launching process, which started end of October 91 in Madrid. And you can never negotiate in a vacuum. This is not an Arab-Israeli specificity; it's an international specificity. We have to have terms of reference. We want to be taken to negotiation.
Let me just jump in. You're saying we, and the Arab League, as I said at the very beginning, is 22 different countries, and I think you'd probably agree that there are 22 countries, often with very different interests and different national interests.
I could even give you examples
about that. But what would you say to a critic who would say, "Sir, the Arab League is exploiting this Palestinian issue. It uses it to show that we are concerned with the poor people, the common people, but it's really, a lot of the monarchs really couldn't care less. They're rich and they only want to preserve their own wealth and power."
No, I wouldn't say so. But let me tell you, I would say that we have many differences. We have a long list, a shopping list of differences on many issues, like do differences exist between many states on different priorities. But when it comes to certain key issues, such as the Palestinian issue, and some might use it for different ends, but why some could use it for different ends? Because it's a very legitimate issue in the mind of the Arab world. But what we are committed to officially and diplomatically is to reaching peace, because at least once we have peace, the situation will be much better for everybody in the Arab world. Doesn't mean if we have peace that there will not be intra-Arab problems or other problems in the region. But the key problem, or a key problem, will be addressed and solved to the interest of everybody. It will contribute to the creation of a more peaceful, I don't say peaceful, a more peaceful environment, an environment more conducive to cooperation, to better investment and what should be invested in.
We're obviously going to have to wait to see what happens with this Israeli-Palestinian, how it plays out, the statehood bid. I would like to, in the time we have left, address Syria. Syria has been a big issue. The head of the Arab League has made a couple of missions right now to meet with...
Two visits. Recently,
two visits to meet with Assad in Syria. It seems so far, though, that some people would like to see perhaps some tougher action, that the Arab League has been a little too soft on Assad. In fact, Syria is a member of the Arab League.
Absolutely.
Is there some conflict of interest here?
Well, it's not easy. The issue is extremely complex and complicated. It's not easy. It's not in the tradition of the Arab League to be able to speak in the affairs of a member. But when there is a situation that might be very explosive and might escalate, open escalation, then it's in the interest and it's in the responsibility of the Arab League collectively and of its members to seek to find a solution. This is why we're extremely keen to try to help as much as we can, knowing very well that it's not an easy matter to address, that we don't have all the necessary help to address. It is not an ideal situation, but I could assure you of one thing, that we're very much into trying to help settling the matter in Syria.
The matter in Syria.
Absolutely.
Some organizations, let's say international human rights organizations, some Arab human rights organizations, have actually explicitly called on the Arab League to expel Syria from the League. Is this something that it would even be considered, or is this off the agenda? Not even a question.
It is not on the agenda of the League of Arab States to expel a member. The Libyan case, suspending Libya's participation in the Arab League, was in a way a special case because of the vast support that this matter head. Let's remember that you have to adopt your decisions,
vast
your
support
resolutions.
among the members or outside?
Among the members and even within the Arab public at one point of time, at the beginning of the issue. Just remember something about Libya, if I may open the parenthesis. We were able, everybody was able to go to the Security Council and adopt the 1973 resolution 1973, because of this wide Arab support. The Syrian issue is much more complex and complicated because of the geopolitics and of the societal.
So there are members of the Arab League.
Absolutely.
There are members of the Arab League that would be squarely against any measure to try to expel Syria. They just would not hear of it.
You could say that there are different ways and levels of reaction to what should be done, what could be done, and what shouldn't be done, and what couldn't be done with the Syria. However, having said so, let's remember that the issue, and this is something new in the Arab League. We might level all kind of criticism at the Arab League in the past concerning its statism. It's not being interested or involved sometimes in societal problems in each and every Arab country. We may say so. It's right to say so. But what we are suggesting, the newness is that this issue is on the agenda. It has been on the agenda for more than one time. There was a declaration made, which was a source of controversy between the Syria and some of countries on the matter, that the Secretary General has gone twice to Damascus, and that one thing is sure, we'll be very much into this issue to try to avoid the worst.
The worst. That is probably a good place to leave it right now. Mr. Ambassador Nassif HITTI, the ambassador for the Arab League here in France, thanks very much for your time today. We've been speaking mostly about the Palestinian statehood bid, but a little bit about Syria, another very difficult issue in a league that, by your own admission, does have its disagreements.
Absolutely. You have a tall order in the Arab world. And
as any big body might.
Of the Arab League. Thanks
for being my guest today here on the France 24 interview, and thanks to all of you for watching.
Thank you very much.